everybody. Well, thanks so much for standing till the end of the day because we're running a little bit late. Here's the thing: forget about everything you've heard so far because 85% of the things that I'll be saying you haven't heard before. So even though I'm going to be talking about digital transformation, probably you haven't heard before, or either I'm going to give it in a perspective that you haven't thought of before. Okay? Why don't we start with a movie? Hold on a second. A movie. This is a movie called The Interns. This is Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson, and it's about two 40-year-olds that start working at Google past the age of 40. So you can imagine the shock, right? Well, it's funny. This exactly is what happened to me. Back in 2010, I was selling candy with toy. Before that, I was selling candy without toy. Before that, I was selling movies. Before that, I was selling instant coffee. Before that, I was selling tile. And before that, I was selling bulk wine. So that means wine that goes in trucks and even boatloads of wine. And then Google came, right? Google came and they offered me a job. And funny enough, they didn't offer me an intern job. They offered me a country manager job for Spain. And then they gave me additional 5 countries. So I was managing like half of Europe for Google for a certain division. You can imagine the shock, right? So my first learning today is don't rely on what they tell you. You can be transformed past the age of 40, right? You don't need to be a millennial, with all of this fancy stuff. You can be transformed, and I'm standing proof of that this can be achieved. The world is becoming a computer, software is hitting the world, disruption everywhere, blockchain stuff. This is the half-truth that you've heard already, right? So I'm going to skip that real quick. I'm going to skip that too. In 1955, some smart guys predicted that nuclear power cleaning devices would be conquering the world. Well, this didn't really happen, right? It's been like 80 years past that, and we still don't have these nuclear power devices because we still haven't been able to sort out the technology. So careful with that. Wearables. Wearables is something we've been talking about for years. Fitbit keeps struggling, so not really there. Another wearable, the Levi's jacket, that stops working after 10 washes. So, another wearable, these wearable things that don't really happen, and this is really funny, a condom that actually, that measures speed, duration, and calories burned in the act, right? What were they thinking? This is all of the wearables things that didn't happen. Virtual reality is, think about the number of devices that are being sold. It's not really happening yet. So we need to take a look at reality, what's going on really in real life. In real life, 80% of what teens, let's start with teens, let's start with millennials. 80% of what teens consume has to do with food, clothing, and being pretty, accessories and that kind of thing. And only 30% goes to music and that kind of thing, right? So this is even for millennials, they're more concerned about eating and being pretty than anything else. A lot of friends talk about STEM. This is STEM thing. We have to put our babies to program, early enough. So we have to have, everybody should be programmers. Anybody has heard this before? Like, STEM, everybody should be an engineer, mathematician, blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? In no time, we have semantic programming. So you talk to software programs and they can develop code for you. And this is already happening. We even have a scenario in which we will have virtual architects, virtual data scientists, virtual everything. So AI is already capable of developing code better than humans. So maybe it's not the time to start coding. I see some people nodding their heads. That's when I like it. The new algorithm about it, this is, a lot of companies right now talk about you need to reach a lot of people with a lot of intelligence. These are the companies that are highly valued. GAFA, Google, Apple, Facebook, Amazon, etc. And then some others that come after those. But take a look at, this is all about gathering information. Facebook, of course, the gathering information machine with Mr. Zuckerberg there right now. But take a look at Uber. They went public a couple of weeks ago. It's worth $1 billion. And guess what they say? They say, we may never be profitable. Maybe we will never be profitable. Not like Amazon, we will make money in a decade and a half or in 2 decades. No, we may never be profitable. So this is kind of a concern. This is the startups, some B2B startups, that the more years they spend in business, the more money they lose, right? So this is like, a lot of people don't know what to do with the money. They go to in this case, the venture capitalists, or rather go to the casino and they bet there and they hopefully make 1 out of 10 startups. The reality is that Zoom, Slack, Talkdesk, all companies in the tens or some in the hundreds of millions of turnover, and they're worth $972 billion, right? So this is sort of like, is this a bubble? Some people may say it's a bubble. I don't know. I'll let you judge. In case you're wondering, quickly take a picture. These are two that are going IPO, right? So if you're gonna, I save you a trip to the casino, you can start investing in these ones. And okay, picture time over. Let's take a look at GAFA. GAFA, everything you make, sooner or later ends up in Google, Apple, Facebook, Amazon. So let's take a look at Google, Apple, Facebook, Amazon, and see what they're like. Apple says, of course you want to stress the points that make you different. So Apple says, we should have a version of GDPR. We're really concerned about privacy. Privacy is top of the agenda for us. Super, super important for our company. Well, guess what? They had this little issue last year with geo-positioning. They had to stop a number of apps in the App Store because they were abusing geo-positioning location. So even Apple sometimes also has these problems. But also says, Tim Cook says, those ads that chase you around the web, the famous remarketing or retargeting, you should be familiar with digital marketing, those are creepy. We should stop them. We could make a ton of money by making ads, but we opted not to do that. But guess what? They're making $2 billion on the App Store in ads, on the App Store, $2 billion. And it gets even better. They're getting 3 years ago, they get $1 billion from Google to have to keep the search engine as the default search engine in the iPhone, in Safari. In 2017, they made $3 billion. Last year, they made $8 billion. In this year, talks are being said that they're going to make $12 billion. The impact on total app shareholder value is estimated in the region of 60 to 70,000 billion. Okay, sorry, 70 billion. Okay, so. Yes, but no. This is why we're saying the half truth of digital transformation. Google and Facebook, yes, they make money with ads. No excuse. 85% of the dollars in digital marketing go to either Google or Facebook. So no question about it. Very straightforward. Just in case you're wondering, Google gets $1 billion every quarter from Booking.com. 1 billion. I get this question asked how much money they spend. Well, this is probably $1 billion goes to Google. So Google makes really good money with ads, and they don't skip that. Let's take a look at Amazon. This is Amazon. You probably heard this before, but the upper line is the revenue line. The lower line is the net income line. So as you can see, the net income is sort of like flat. So it's like for a decade and a half, they make literally no money, even though the revenues went going up and up. And anybody knows what Amazon is not making? It's barely making any money. It's changing a little bit. Anybody knows what? That's very simple. Because e-commerce is a money-losing venture for most companies, particularly if you're in the fast-moving consumer goods. No one makes money in the fast-moving consumer goods delivering goods to the houses. Okay, this is the blue line is the difference between what Amazon charges to ship and what Amazon gets back from consumer shipping. Right? The spikes, the spikes, By the way, the blue zone tends to be increasing. It gets bigger and bigger. The spikes is the Q4, so it's Christmas. So the more they sell, the more they lose. Right? So they've chosen to run this business on a money-losing machine. In the meantime, of course, a lot of people are going out of business. A lot of e-commerce are going out of business. If you add 2.6 billion that the U.S. Postal Office is subsidizing, that makes worth about a $10 billion money-losing business for Amazon. So where does Amazon make the money? Well, this is e-commerce is only like 8% in 2016, and now, in case you're wondering, it's 10% of total commerce. So 90% of commerce we were just discussing on the panel, on the retail panel, is offline commerce. And a lot of people talk about omni-channel and everything. Yeah, whatever you want, but 90% of sales are made within 4 walls, not online. Okay. Amazon makes money where? On Amazon Web Services. We're technological people, we know that. So this is 2 years ago was 90% of their profit. Now it's gone down because they started making a little money with ads. They're going to make about $5 billion worth of profit with ads. But maybe people will start getting sick of ads in Amazon as well. The pace of innovation in AWS is unbelievable. Every year they have thousands of innovations, and guess what? They keep reducing prices every year, and it's not 5 or 10%. They keep reducing prices 30, 40, 50% every year. So it's very consistent. So, for example, this allows companies like ours to offer solutions that can guarantee for a flat fee unlimited storage. So anything that you can say, you can store as many, in this case, interactions as you want. We will charge you the same. So making the business super predictable. Okay. Oops. So this is why, of course, by the way, Apple spends $13 million on AWS every month, and this is making AWS the king of cloud computing, of course, with over 50% share of the market, according to their own numbers. This is Andy Jassy, the CEO of Amazon Web Services. Moving on, they have this little problem, GAFA, they have this little problem with taxes. They choose not to pay taxes, right? We know this little problem. Walmart pays a ton more taxes. And you know why they do this? Well, essentially, Google is shielding 16 billion, essentially because they can. And why they can? Because they have chosen to give money to the politicians, actually a lot of money, to essentially allow them to keep them doing this. This is the top list of lobbyists in Washington. Guess who's top of the list? We got Google, Amazon, Facebook, Microsoft, and Apple, top of the list. Combined, it's almost 50 million that they give. Zuckerberg was being questioned by politicians in that he had donated them over $500,000 last year when he was. But still, we normal people in the street, we think these companies are super cool, they're super nice, they're super popular, right? Take, top of the list, Amazon, Google, Apple, they're cool. Why do we think they're cool? Because we think they do all of these fancy things, like, for example, sending 3,200 and something satellites, and all of these Google projects and all of that. So they're very popular. The reality is they choose not to pay taxes. And what do they do with the taxes? Anybody knows what they do? They fund all of these ideas, they fund all of these programs. Well, 60% of the savings that they have on taxes goes to who? To the shareholders. And 3% they spend on communities and social services and that kind of thing, right? So essentially, they're popular, but maybe we should rethink about that. Finally, I have 5 minutes. AI, is AI, here is Sundar Pichai. Sundar Pichai's AI is going to be more important than the discovery of fire. That's pretty important, right? Than the discovery of fire. But immediately on that same presentation, he says, as it turns out, a big part of getting things done is about making a phone call. And then they launched this duplex AI, artificial intelligence, which is a machine sounding like a human on the phone. So this is 70 years of AI, not to cure cancer, not to put a man on Mars, no, to make a machine sound like on the phone, or to make people click on ads and stuff like that. So this is, according to Salesforce, 92% of all customer interactions happen on the phone. 60% of all US businesses do not have a website, even today. And we're always talking about the US, I'm not talking about other parts of the world, which of course would be less attractive. Chatbots. Crazy about that, AI, chatbots and stuff, be very careful with that. Always have a human standing by just in case the chatbot struggles with the query, It's always wise to have that. 40% of companies that claim that use AI do not actually use AI. So this is why Gartner, for example, says maybe there's a hype on AI. Maybe, we're overhyping and stuff. We have two versions. Elon Musk says we should worry about it because this is the doomsday scenario. Maybe we have Terminator 3 and we have to worry about. Zuckerberg, Mitsuki says no, it's not so important, blah blah blah. I don't know what you think. I keep reading and reading on AI for the last 3, 4, 5 years. It's going to happen, and probably sooner than we expect. The general AI, so that's an AI that will be bigger and more powerful, more intelligent than all of us here in the world combined. People are thinking that it will happen within the next decade or so. So watch out for this. Problem with AI is not one single AI, it's combined AI. So one AI with another. But you're probably wondering, so how about AI? Is it going to take my job? Right? Well, according to Gartner, it's not. The green curve says we're going to have more jobs created due to AI. That's what Gartner says, And history says that too. This is service jobs, how they replace agricultural jobs. This is Mary Meekers, another guru of really good. And this is locomotive jobs were replaced by aircraft jobs, and this is really good, also by Mary Meeker. This is how US GDP has been growing up while unemployment, except for of course the hard recession, has remained stable. So I think that's good news. Probably AI will not replace our jobs. Otherwise, who's going to consume? If we have our jobs. Dematerialization, real quick. Goods and services are losing value. This is the amount of money that having a camera, a video player, a GPS, a video conference cost just a few years ago, almost $1 million. All of that software is free on our smartphones these days. It's free. But what is not losing in value is knowledge. Knowledge is increasingly more valuable. And how do people like us, how do we get knowledge? Well, we have to go to school. We have to read. We have to train. We have to constantly be reading, or some more visual people, you have to watch videos on YouTube. It's very important. I was just in this training today. Every day, dedicate 2 hours. So it's not in the future. It's not going to be about I have so many years of experience, I have this, I have that. It's about who's able to learn, unlearn, and relearn. Those would be the real good people. I cannot believe that I'm going to finish on time. So this is great. We even have time for one question. So chances are you're here either representing your company, or representing yourself and your family, or representing both, right? Any other categories? So you're either representing your company, yourself and your families, or both. So here are my 2 last pieces of advice. If you're here representing your company, here's my piece of advice. First one, educate the CEO on tech. We may think the CEO knows everything about tech. They probably don't. Believe me, I teach at ESADE, a digital transformation program. It's full of CEOs, managing directors, and the like. And many of them, they have little, if any, clue at all on what's going on with cloud, with edge, with blockchain, with all of these that you have been hearing, and we'll continue to hear for the next day or so, right? So educate the CEO, have him come to these shows, not only have you. And second, very, very important, seek independent advice. Independent advice means do not talk to the vendors, because the vendors will sell you whatever technology, whatever crazy idea, whatever. Be very careful, or at least talk to some of them. Talk to different vendors, because they will come with a super smart idea and they will try to say, digital twins. They will charge you $1 million for these kinds of things. Be very careful with that. Advice for you. You want to be curious. You want to be always constantly be learning. You want to be investing in yourself, right? You want to be gaining value for yourself. This is also valuable advice for you as humans, as individuals. Read, watch, imagine how the world's going to be in the next 3, 4, 5, eventually 10 years, right? Try to imagine yourself in that world, and try to imagine what's missing. What you need to achieve in between today and the world you imagine in 5 years. And then if you walk along the way in these 5 years and you don't like what happens, you can always pivot. This is the magical world. I thought the world was going to be e-commerce, but it's not. Then I'm going to pivot, right? I thought it would be AI, but maybe not. Or maybe yes, or maybe I go to AI, right? Thanks very much. My name is Victor Marinho. I did something while you're studying in the study. Thank you.